prime thing is you have to win.
Ill intent, violence, physicality, pain. Enough is enough.
All right, welcome back to the Just Win podcast. We are live after the Raiders lost 34-19 to the Miami Dolphins in Miami. That's Sean Reed. That's Vic Tafer. They were at the game to witness it live. I'm Ted Wynn. I'm in the Bay Area, but I'm sure it felt just as dirty watching that game at home than it did live.
You felt dirty?
Why'd you feel
I
dirty?
mean, it's just,
What?
when you get whooped that badly, it just doesn't feel right, So it's is what it
Man.
is.
It was a one-score game with 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Didn't feel like it. It didn't feel like a one-score game, even though it was, because Miami just milked the clock. What they score on? Did they only not score on one drive?
The end of the first half, when the time ran out. Otherwise, they were 6 for 6.
And they just milked the clock every single time. So it just felt like they were in control of that game, even though the score did seem close. But yeah, I think we'll get into I think one big topic in that game was a lot of defensive miscommunications. And I guess is to be expected. Nate Hobbs is a big part of communication. They're already missing Epps, who's a big part of their communication, and then they lose Ja'Cory Bennett on the first drive of the game. So you're going in there with I don't know what, 2 members of your starting secondary left, and you can see the miscommunications all over the field, and it severely affected the game.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it early and late. Even before those injuries had fully hit. In the first quarter on Janu Smith's first touchdown. It's kind of similar play. He went in motion. Obviously, the Dolphins run a ton of motion and shifts, and we talked about the importance of eye discipline going into this one. And when he motioned to the left, Isaiah Polamau was trying to follow him. It seemed like the better move would have been to have Richardson bump over and slide up since he had the outside route, but he wasn't able to get over in time. And Smith was wide open for a touchdown on that fourth down early in the game. That was a pretty big pivot point. And then in the fourth quarter, obviously the big one on Smith's 57-yard touchdown. It looked like the issue. I looked back at the play a few times. Was the Raiders were in cover zero. For people who don't know, it's no safeties, just man coverage across the board. And they actually had enough guys to have everybody covered, but they sent a guy in motion right before the snap, and the Raiders didn't adjust to it properly. Divine Diablo was on their side, but he didn't drop back in coverage. He went on a blitz. And so that left them with 2 guys trying to cover 3 guys. And that's obviously the numbers are not in your favor there unless your blitz gets home. So Richardson had to pick between Mostert and Smith. He picked Mostert, and that left Smith wide open for that game stealing touchdown. And like you said, I mean, it's just communication. It's not necessarily surprising given how many guys that they had that aren't used to playing out there and guys that aren't used to playing with one another more specifically. But, it cost them pretty big in this one.
Yeah, on that Janu Smith touchdown, when Janu Smith motioned over, Spillane was trying to get somebody's attention to move over with him. I think it was supposed to be Isaiah Polamau's assignment to go cover him, because what happened was Polamau and Spillane were both covering one receiver to the weak side, and then you have nobody on Janu Smith to the strong side. And that's
On the
one of
second
those
one, I
things.
think it was. I think he was talking to Trayvon Merrick. I'm pretty sure because it looked like he's looking at Merrick, and Merrick he heard him. It looked like he looked at him, but for some reason, I think the issue was Diablo. I'm not sure if Diablo was supposed to blitz or not there. Like because he initially took a step back and then he just takes off after Tua, and so either way they had 2-on-3 on that side. So I don't know
Yeah.
if it was a matter of, like you said, pull him out on the other side of the field if he was supposed to adjust or Spillane was supposed to come over. But it was kind of weird. They didn't, even though they were in man coverage, like
But you
because
did end up with Polamau and Spillane on one receiver, though, which is not supposed to
yeah,
happen.
yeah, I think because Smith didn't go into motion with Smythe or however you pronounce his name. And Spillane was initially on him. I don't know why he didn't follow him across the formation. That's the part that's a little weird. He looked like he was passing it off instead of running with the guy, and so that's why he ended up on the same side as Hill.
Yeah,
Anyway, it was clear that they fucked it up. Whatever they're supposed to do did not happen as planned on that long touchdown. So, and
yeah,
that's it's on the player that shows inexperience, but it's also that's a coaching point. Just how we talked about on the offensive side of the ball all year and the issues they've been having with missed assignments and whatnot. Same thing applies, on the defensive end.
yeah. Miscommunications were happening on the very first drive too. I mean, there was a Achan long pass. I think it might have been on third down that was caused by miscommunication, and then that first Janu Smith touchdown, like you guys mentioned, was it wasn't a miscommunication. It was just so this is the problem that the Raiders defense has had before, where they're when they're in man coverage, sometimes they try to get a call in to pass off. Like when you're in a bunch, you want to pass off certain routes because you don't want to get picked. The Raiders have had problems with that. So I think maybe in this game with the new DBs, they were like, all right, we're not passing anything off. We're just going to stick on our guys. But when you do that, teams could pick you. And the Raiders got picked multiple times in this game because they refused to switch guys off. And I kind of get it because, you have a bunch of new defensive backs in there. They don't really trust their communication. But that was a big issue in this game. And as I mentioned, it was kind of an issue beforehand. So not a great excuse, but definitely a lot tougher to do when you have new guys in there.
We did ask Pierce about that first touchdown, and he said it was miscommunication on that play. I think because you looked at it at the
Yeah.
first view, I thought Palomalo was just late chasing down Smith across the motion. But I think he mentioned a young guy came in, and maybe one of the young cornerbacks came in. I think there was supposed to be a handoff or something, but clearly, when a guy comes across you, and you see him
So they
moving,
were trying to get a handoff, or
yeah,
they,
you see,
they
you see a
were
guy
trying to get a
move.
pass off.
Yeah, you see a guy in motion coming towards you. That guy should be the guy who scores wide open. That's not the way it's supposed to work out. So.
Yeah, I talked to Polamalu after the game. He said it was miscommunication, and it looked like it was Richardson on that side.
Yeah.
Richardson was the furthest. It was Merrick on the inside, and then Richardson on the outside. So I'm assuming that it would have been Richardson that needed to bump over and cover the outside route. And I mean, he's a rookie. I know he started to play a little bit more the last couple of weeks, but this was by far the most playing time that he's received in the game so far this season. And there were some growing pains that came with it.
He had a really rough game, and obviously it's a really tough matchup. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, two of the best guys in the league. You mentioned all the different guys coming in, moving parts, the communication. I mean, at the end of the game, Jack Jones is also out. He also got dinged up, so you had all new guys back there. So I think it was a lot for a young guy, a rookie who's just starting to play a little bit to really try and get his head around. He didn't have a good game today, so it's just you kind of learn from it and you move on, I guess.
Let's give Jack Jones a little bit of a shout out just because he's had his troubles tackling, and it felt like the Miami Dolphins were purposely trying to challenge to make some tackles, and he did pretty well. He did miss one tackle that led to a big Achan run, but he got I think 2 TFLs and another pretty big tackle in the flats. So he I think he knew that the Dolphins were going to challenge him, and he kind of stepped up. So a little bit of a silver lining there. But let's move on to our next subject. Max Crosby says, we're just playing for pride at this point, which I think we kind of all understood at this point in the season. But I guess it's a little surprising to hear Max Crosby, who doesn't really say stuff like that, say this.
I wasn't surprised, man. I think, and they just lost. They're 2-8. They've lost 6 in a row. So I don't know. I mean, I know people can say, we're going to win the rest of our games, but I think he clearly sees it's not going to happen. I think he was also frustrated. He had a rough game. I think they a lot of double teams, and first time I can remember, he didn't touch the quarterback the whole game. I think that's he had no stats really at all. So I'm sure he was frustrated. I'm sure, yeah, like you said, the Dolphins offense scored every time they had the ball. So I think his hopes, at this point, all I can do is hope that he makes some improvements and remain competitive the rest of the way.
And I think it was a recent appearance on like his weekly like Sirius XM spot. I think I forget the exact words that he used, but he was basically like, I think his reference was like if we're not going to be at the mountaintop this season, we can at least ruin some other people's season. And so it's, kind of stuff from a similar vein. Like I think he and a lot of other people in the franchise understand that they're not really doing anything this year in terms of making the playoffs or having that kind of success. And I mean, all of us watching can see that. So I know some people, may get upset by that or not like that he said that publicly, but I mean, it's the truth, So, and it's also like, I mean, it, he's saying that he still has something to play for. It's just not team success. It's pride, and I don't think this is a matter of effort. Like I know that that's been like brought up a lot this season ever since Antonio Pierce had that business decisions comment back in week 3. But I think they're trying hard. I just don't think they're very good. So um, doesn't change the outcome. But I don't think this is like a situation where like the team is quitting or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a very frustrating loss. I mean, they're all frustrating up to some degree, but this one, you're coming off the bye week. You made some coaching changes. A lot of talk about a reset button, and the guys are like, I think, like Tashan said, they're still practicing hard. Gardner Minshew said the guys all come in, they all lift weights on Monday. It's that no one's like slacking off. They're kind of locked in, and yeah, they thought this week that maybe they had some tweaks in offense that maybe to help things, but yeah, the offense was better, I guess. They had a season high in first downs, which I thought was a surprising stat. 22 first downs, but they didn't score, and then they still had some mistakes. But the running game can't get going. So I just think that the frustration's probably a higher point post game because of the bye week, because of the reset thing, because this is a winnable game. They figured the Dolphins were also were they 2-6, 2-7, I think coming in.
They had 3 wins
3 wins, so
coming
three
in.
and six coming in. So yeah, it's a team you think that maybe coming off a short week, a long trip from LA, maybe you have a chance to win. And they hung around, but they never led, and never really gave you the sense that they were in good shape in this game. They kind of always were just a little bit short in offense and defense.
And speaking of being honest and coaching changes, on the broadcast, it was either Ross Tucker or somebody else on the broadcast mentioned that Antonio Pierce was very honest about the firing of Luke Getsy and how he's trying to save his own job. So I thought that was a pretty surprising moment, but I mean, whatever. I mean, we all knew what it is, what it is. But moving on to Scott Turner as offensive coordinator, I thought the offense did look better. I mean, this is a Miami Dolphins defense that was playing pretty well, played their best game against the Rams the week before. And the Raiders were able to move the ball pretty easily on them. Obviously, they kind of got stopped in the red zone, some boneheaded mistakes. But I think one big thing I noticed was they weren't trying to establish the run. I mean, they knew they couldn't run the ball, and I think running backs only had about 10 carries in this game, and there was a bunch of fly sweeps. I think, and we talked about it. Like fly sweeps are a good answer for this offense, just to get creative and get the ball in the hands of other players. But yeah, there wasn't really any run pass sequences. Maybe there was one or two. I didn't really count, but I didn't. I don't remember any. I just thought they looked a little bit smoother. So maybe Scott Turner is a little bit better for this offense.
Well, I thought they tried to get the run game going. They kind of, I think Zamir White had 4 carries for 6 yards early on, and it was clear it wasn't there. And again, I'm not. I mean, Zamir's had a really rough year, but today at least I thought there was nowhere to run. I thought when he got the ball, there were bodies all over right in front of him. So and they did kind of give up. I think the final stats were they had 11 carries for 29 yards. At the 3 running backs had more of their yards from the receivers. The 2 plays by Myers and Tucker got like 20, 27 yards. Yeah, I mean, they want to run the ball. They can't. I mean, that's just. But but you're right. I think Gardner's more efficient today. I think they had some. They got the ball quicker. I think he was better. He's still not great on his feet and scrambling, but I thought he was better today than he has been as far as getting out of trouble and making some plays. But and yeah, and the, we talked about last week how we thought that maybe Jalen Ramsey would cover Brock Flowers, but he didn't, and Brock dominated. Brock had 13 catches for 1 billion yards, and just a guy who for this team to score, he made it get the ball more often than that. So I just think he's the one guy they have, and clearly a special player.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
the different ways that they got the ball to Bowers. Like they handed the ball off to him. They had him in the backfield a couple times running choice routes. And that's one of the things that Scott Turner does. I think he does a pretty good job of moving guys around.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, them trying to run the ball. I mean, they started Zamir White his first start in a while, and then switched to Alexander Madison. Neither one of them really did anything on the ground game. Madison, at least, they got him going in the pass game. I think he finished with like around 50 receiving yards. And then Amir Abdullah got involved, had a pretty nice touchdown catch during the game as well. And so that's kind of seems like how they're trying to supplement, or replace the run game is those quick passes that kind of end up being runs essentially. And so if they can't run the ball traditionally, they're trying to find other ways to get those guys in space and help them make plays. But yeah, I thought the offense, like you said, I guess the operation looked a little bit cleaner, but and it was also just kind of like a weird game. We mentioned earlier, like the Dolphins, really both teams had really long drives early on in the game. Like I think in the first quarter they each had one possession, and second quarter was something similar. And so the Raiders didn't end up scoring their first touchdown until I think it was like late in the third quarter. And so they had a couple field goal drives, and I think that's kind of the next step. Like Vic mentioned they had the most first down that they had in the game this year. They moved the ball, decently well, but they just couldn't finish drives. That was really the issue. Was I think they had, three red zone possessions and only scored a touchdown on one of them. And so, that's kind of the next step. We'll see. Obviously it's week one with Scott Turner. We'll see if they're able to build upon this moving forward.
I was going to say, as far as the run game going forward, I know Abdullah was in there because Madison was hurt. He hurt his ankle. After the game, he had a boot on his left foot. So I'm not sure what the long-term outlook for that's going to be, but clearly he couldn't go back in the game. And that would definitely affect their run game going forward. If Abdullah, a nice move and scored. He's always been a 10th year in the league. He's always been a solid guy. Maybe he had some more of a role going forward, but we'll see. They got to figure out. He was talking about the game with me, and he said, it's very frustrating because they think they have the horses in the running back room to get the job done, and I think the guys up front should be able to get them holes, and they just can't get the ball going, so they can't get the running game going. But yeah, they'll keep trying, I guess.
You know what? I take back everything I've said about benching Gardner Minshew. You keep that guy in there and let him play because he's the perfect tanking quarterback. Like he moves the ball between the 20s and then he gets into the red zone and he doesn't finish. He keeps the game lightweight, entertaining, but like you don't really have a chance to win. So just keep him in there. This is good. This is good. Just keep losing. Go get your quarterback.
Competitive losses, right?
Yeah. The elegant
That's
tank.
the motto. Yeah, I guess we didn't really talk about the offensive line, but like I think this was another new starting group for them. So they started Jordan Meredith at left guard, Dylan Parham at right guard, and then Jackson Powers Johnson started at center again. They're still kind of, obviously they also promoted Joe Philbin to interim offensive line coach. So there was a change there as well as the Scott Turner move, and it didn't look too good today either. I mean, the pass protection, Minshew holds on to the ball long, and so some of those sacks I think were as much as they were on him as much as anybody. But pass protection wasn't great, I didn't think, and the run blocking was bad as it's been all season. And so, I'm not saying that the running backs haven't missed holes or they couldn't be doing better than they are, but with the way this offensive line is playing right now, I think it's just going to be tough for them. And it seems like, I mean, we're 11 games into the season at this point. It's probably going to be what it is for this year, but they have some young players that could potentially get better moving forward. Powers Johnson, DJ Glaze, but they're rookies and they're going to have those growing pains, and they clearly need to make some additions to that room in the offseason and give those guys some more time to develop because with the way they're playing right now, it's kind of hard for this offense to be consistent.
I'll add that I think the Dolphins had a pretty good D line. They did a good job today with their stunts, some of the movements they had. So I think Colton and Miller were saying how they thought they were better at communicating up front, trying to get guys on the same page, but also at the same time, he gave the Dolphins a lot of credit for like doing some different things, kind of confusing them at times. And I think that's all. It's a chess match. So you make your moves, other team makes theirs, and it kind of sometimes doesn't work out the way you want. But I think if they have this five going forward, maybe they have a chance to get a little better and get some continuity.
Yeah, I thought there were times when Minshew had really nice pockets, and there was some times where there was miscommunications, and it's going to happen with this young line. Yeah, I agree. It's good. Just keep this five on. If you can keep this five on the field, let them get better, let them kind of gel a little bit and get some chemistry. I think they'll get better as the season goes along, and offensively, that's probably going to be one of the top things you look for, is because like this line can be a line that could be around for the next few years. So potentially. So Just watch how they develop. And obviously, the number one thing you're watching out for on offense is Brock Bowers and how he just continues to show. He's going to be one of the. He's going to be a top two, top three tight end in the league in a year or two. So you guys want to talk a little bit about Brock Bowers' big day?
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty incredible today. I mean, he's been, really good all season, but this was definitely, his signature performance. I mean, 13 catches, 126 yards, and a touchdown. Those catches in yards are high for him, and that's the at least since, I think since 1960, they say it's the most catches by a rookie tight end in a game in NFL history. So I know he had a couple at the end there that were kind of, kind of bullshit, extra stat padding catches, but he had a great game even before that last kind of garbage time drive. I know he had a nice little dance there after his touchdown catch, but not for this podcast. But yeah, he had a pretty great game. Minshew was feeding it to him. We talked about it. I mean, they don't really have like a go-to traditional wide receiver, but he's clearly the number one option on offense. And I mean, he's the best player on offense at this point already as a rookie, which if with Devontae being gone, it kind of opened up the door for him to have this bigger role. He's lived up to expectations and then some. And got to see him working in concert with Michael Mayer a little bit today. I know Mayer didn't have a big game statistically himself, but I think he had a couple opportunities to have.
He was close. He was close.
Yeah, I think Minshew
Yeah,
missed him on that one where he fell down. Um, he kind of lost his footing a little bit, but I think he lost his footing because Minshew threw it out a little bit too in front of him. And so I think even though Mayer didn't have a crazy statistical game, I think this is kind of the first game that we saw the vision that they had this offseason when they put these two guys together.
I think great players make you pay for mistakes. I think, and you see Bowers is that already. Like in that one play where he scored on, I think it was Jordan Poyer, he went in for the tackle on the sideline and he missed him and didn't push him out of bounds. He missed the tackle and didn't get him out of bounds, and Bowers took off and his touchdown. So he has that special yards after catch ability, and it really keeps he puts a lot of pressure on defenses. You make a mistake, he'll make you pay. And I think that's, and again, I'm sure he was the number one guy on their scouting report. The guy, we have to stop Brock Bowers. We got to do this, do that, and he put up huge numbers. And I just think if you're a Rays fan, you definitely can be excited about his future because just think. I don't want to say it's going to sound mean, but when he gets a real quarterback, he's going to be even better. So I just think it's yeah. At least you have that, Raider fans. At least you have Brock Bowers. It's definitely a nice centerpiece and a future star to be excited about.
Yeah, the first catch that Bowers had, he was running, I think it was a choice route against Jordan Brooks, who's a pretty good coverage linebacker. I don't know why he's wearing number 20 though. It's a horrendous number for a linebacker. But he gave him a little move at the top of the route and just left him in the dust. Like there was no chance. And like you mentioned, like the yards after the catch is going to be how he gets all his production or a lot of his productions because he's so good after the catch. And a big part of it is just like how smoothly he catches with his hands. Like some guys catch it with their bodies and they have to slow down, but the way he catches the ball is just so smooth. The way he's able to transition into becoming a runner. So yeah, it's exciting to see Brock Bowers pay off this quickly, especially with all of the Raiders draft picks in which you kind of have to just like squint and think of different excuses for why they're not playing well. For Brock Bowers to come out and just dominate early in his career is a nice change up, I suppose. All right. So, any more things from the game
Um,
injury wise?
yeah, I guess other injuries, Jacorian Bennett, he hurt his shoulder in the first quarter and got ruled out. We don't really have an update on his status. And Jack Jones, he hurt his back. I think it was the third quarter. He was down for a while and he was moving pretty slow in the locker room. Seemed to be in a pretty good amount of pain. So, two starting outside cornerbacks. Nate Hobbs didn't play in this game due to the ankle injuries. So they're already kind of thin at cornerback. And so those injuries definitely hurt. And then Vic mentioned Alexander Madison got a little banged up. And I think there was one other that I'm forgetting right now. Yeah, Zamir White hurt his quad, which is something that had been bothering him. I remember him popping up on the injury report a couple weeks ago with a quad injury, and so They had a few injuries in this one. They've been really hit up by injuries a lot, throughout this entire season. It's been pretty rough for them. They've had some games where they've had a few significant players get knocked out unexpectedly, and that's obviously tougher to adjust to than, when you know a guy is not going to play the whole week. And, injuries aren't an excuse. Like every team in the NFL deals with injuries, of course, but the Raiders have been like really, 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 really injured, and the team already isn't that good. So I do kind of give them a little bit of like an excuse for how they're playing.
Yeah, the two positions where it's really tough to deal with injuries with is offensive line and defensive back. And against the Bengals, obviously, they had a ton of offensive line injuries. And then against this team, the Miami Dolphins, you're missing two starters with the after the Jacorian Bennett injury, and we saw the miscommunications. And it's tough, and it's even tougher when you have cluster injuries and you're missing multiple guys. So not an excuse, but just very tough to overcome, especially against a team with the weapons that the Miami Dolphins have. All right, let's get into fan questions. All right, we're going to start with Trip, who um, paid $5 to ask this question. So Trip
Thank you, Trip.
asks,
Appreciate it, man.
what is the percentage chance that AP is back next year if the Raiders have 4 or less wins?
4 or less wins.
Mm-hmm.
The percentage chance that what's the question is back next year if they have 4 or less wins
And Vic, be
is.
careful. This is going to be aggregated all over the place.
I don't
There's
think so.
going to be articles written about this comment right here.
It's weird. Weird has a clause in there. I think I can get away with it. So 4 wins or less. The odds of Antonio Pierce coming back as head coach of the Raiders are 29%.
29%.
It's very specific.
I mean, again, who knows? But I mean, because I think we'll be grading this on improvement, maybe more so than wins, but and the culture of the team is playing hard all year. But I thought 5 wins is a number. I thought he could definitely come back with 5 wins. I thought so. 4 definitely reduces the number, but I think we have that we've talked about this a lot. The defensive injury excuse is valid. The not getting a quarterback, and that's what we said he needed all offseason. He had to have a non-stopgap guy. Didn't happen for him. So I just think Gardner's had more issues than they probably envisioned, and the whole Devontae thing blew up. So I think there's definitely excuses there, but I do think 5 wins is the number I was looking at as far as okay, he's back for sure with 5 wins.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure in our mid-season predictions, I think I thought they were going to finish with 4 wins. It seems like if they don't beat the Jaguars, I don't know. So they got at least one win on the schedule with them. But you would think. I don't know. The Jaguars have just been it's been pure belt to ass for whoever plays them as of late. But
Pure belt to
yeah,
ass.
pure
Well,
belt
you,
to ass.
you
But
better hope that you don't get the Jaguars after they fire Doug Peterson. They get the new coach.
Is he going tomorrow?
I think
He's fired tomorrow.
I think he's going
He's
to be
fired.
done. I think they're going
Yeah.
into a bye week. This is when you do it. This is when you
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
He's
But
done.
anyway. I would say 50%. I think it's 50%. I
50%.
think Mark Davis wants to keep him for another year, and I do think that for all those excuses that we listed, I don't know. I don't really know like what you expect this team to like. Even if they had better coaching, I think this is a bad team still. So, um, yeah, I think he gets to year 2.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I were Mark Davis, I would want to see improvement. Like, you can't control the injuries, but you can control things like stupid penalties at the wrong time. Like example, 3rd and 20 today. Why is your defensive end holding a tight end on 3rd and 20 today to give him a first down early in the game? You got to cut down on those penalties. The game management stuff didn't really crop up today, but you want to see him improve in those areas, and you want to see the team play hard, and you want to see improvement. You don't want to get blown out. So you want to see improvement, and if you don't, I think the right move is to probably move on from him. Whether he actually pulls through and does it is a different question, because I mean there's a lot that goes into it, because he's just obviously fired 2 big money coaches, and I Pierce has a 2-year contract. I don't know if he'll make that move, but yeah, to me, I think you have to see improvement to justify keeping Pierce for another year. It's just, if he's not the right guy, wasting another season with him, it's tough.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the offseason is going to be interesting offseason, of course. I know the Athletics, Diana Rossini reported, I think it was Saturday, she thinks that, Tom Brady, I was hearing that Tom Brady's going to have a pretty significant role in like, which we've talked about, but that she thinks he's going to have you know, not really a passive voice, but a pretty significant voice in offseason decisions. So I would assume that'd be somebody that would be consulted as Mark Davis works through that. So we'll see. Obviously, it depends a lot on how these last few games go. I think like Vic said, even if the record isn't good, if they are competitive and make some progress, and you can kind of see the vision and things trending in a certain way, then I think you can justify bringing them back. And I think that's more so what you have to evaluate him by moving forward more so than wins and losses because his team isn't suddenly going on a winning streak or something of that nature. And it would really only hurt the franchise if they did, to be honest. Like they need to lose as many games as possible the rest of the season.
The elegant tank is Jorge Meza asks, is it Dylan Labe time? Is it Labe time? I'll let you answer that, Vic.
I don't believe so. I think nothing against the rookie. I just think Amir Abdullah is a lot better. So I think if Madison's hurt, I think that it'd be Zamir. But if Zamir and Madison are hurt, then I guess you have no choice. But I think Abdullah's been around. He's shown he can make plays, give him a chance. So I would think he's the next man up. And I don't think I wasn't overly impressed with Labe in preseason and training camp. So I think he's more of a project type.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him start games of playing time. Because I feel like Scott Turner likes moving people in different positions, and Labe is a guy that you can move to slot. Maybe not in the next couple weeks, but maybe if he gets a better handle on the offense and they feel like they could give him the ball without risking a fumble, then maybe they'll play him a little bit in third down situations or have a few plays for him in the play sheet.
All right.
All right. Eric Twin Green asks, how much of this team's struggles fall on past terrible draft classes because it's very glaring in my opinion?
A lot of it. I mean, anytime you smoke that many first round picks, and even second round picks, like your roster's just not going to be very good. You know, and they've also had a ton of big free agency moves that didn't pan out either. And so combination of those two things for as many years as has happened with the Raiders equals bad roster, which is, where they are now. I guess the optimistic view, if you are a Raiders fan, is that, they can flip this roster pretty quickly. They have a ton of cap space this upcoming offseason and they have all their draft picks. And they should have a pretty high pick in the first round, and so they can retool this thing, in short order. That doesn't, just having resources doesn't guarantee that they're going to make the right moves. Like that's how we got to the point is them, wasting all the picks from the Khalil Mack trade and things of that nature, and so nothing's guaranteed, but they will have an opportunity to clean it up here moving forward.
I was going to say, I mean, the roster obviously is not that good. And a lot of that, and you see that with the depth now that comes into play. I think we all think with the draft classes that were bad in the past, and all the disasters with Mayock and Gruden. But even the last few draft classes with Ziegler weren't very good. I think you look at Michael Mayer has been gone for a while. I'm not sure what his upside really is yet. And then you look at the other guys they brought in last couple of years, and not much to show for it. So I just think that at some point you pay a price for missing that much, and they obviously, they're paying the price right now.
The good news is Tom Telesco's first draft class looks promising, so we'll see if they could build on it.
For sure.
Raiders GA asks, with QB being the most obvious pick in round one, what do we need with our second round pick, offensive line, running back, wide receiver?
It's kind of hard
Stick
to
with
say without
best
seeing what they
player
do in free
available.
agency. Yeah, but yeah, I think we got it right there to BPA. This team, we talk, I think, naturally, like any team, we talk about quarterback the most because it's the most important position, but this team needs help pretty much everywhere. Like there's not, I don't think outside of tight end, that's the only position that I don't care if he's the best tight end we've ever seen. They don't need any more fucking tight ends. So take tight end off the board, but everywhere else, go ahead. So I just think it just kind of depends who's there and it's kind of hard to project it at this point.
Yeah, I think if DJ Glaze is the guy you think can be your right tackle for years to come, then I think your O-line can be okay. I think you can probably target some veteran guys to fill some of the other holes. So I probably would go on that list that you gave us. I'd probably go receiver because that seems to be a glaring need right now. I'm not sure what else they'd have there, but again, you're right. Best player available is always the way to go. But I would say impact guy receiver would be nice. Get this offense a little more big play potential, because right now there's no big play potential. I mean, they thought Trey Tucker might be that guy, but he hasn't been. And that's not. I'm saying it's his fault, but they need a big play receiver. I mean, at some point.
They're gonna sign
Yeah.
T. Higgins, man. There you go.
T.
Wow.
Higgins, there you go. All right, I like it. T.
Yeah.
Higgins.
Come on down.
Yeah, best player available is how they landed on Brock Bowers. If they decided to go with positional need and thought Michael Mayer was the guy, then they wouldn't have Brock Bowers. So BPA is good to go, like you guys mentioned. Wide receiver is a big need. They get another defensive tackle with this defensive line with Kuntz and with Wilkins and Crosby. That'd be strong. They could use a linebacker. Obviously, they could use defensive backs. Running backs are kind of back in vogue too. You get a good running back, with how defenses are playing and really prioritizing stopping the pass. Getting a really good running back is kind of in play. I don't know if I've suggested for the Raiders, but especially in the first 2 rounds, because I don't know if they're ready to compete, and I feel like you should be ready to compete if you're going to spend high capital on a running back. But yeah, BPA.
You mentioned Kuntz, but Kuntz is a free agent. But I guess you hopefully get him back at a discount because he was hurt. But he's a free agent at the end of the year. But,
that's what I'm presuming, but we'll see what happens.
I like it. Makes sense.
All right. Mike Saunders asks, do you think there's anything in the Sanders tweet after each loss where there is smoke, there is fire usually? So what Mike is referring to, that is after every Raiders loss, I believe Shadir has tweeted, God is good. I don't know if it's every loss because I haven't been paying attention. Have you guys kept track of this?
Apparently.
Apparently it's every loss. And I mean, the timing is pretty, you have to imagine it's what it is, unless there's some big coincidence where he's getting some great stuff done to him at the same time every week. But yeah, I think he wants to be. I mean, we see him talking to Mark Davis and Asia Wilson after that one game. He's talking to Tom Brady. Tom Brady has a NIL deal with him, so he's got a connection there. So I think he clearly, of all the choices probably in this draft, looks all the terrible teams that might get him, I do think the Raiders are more attractive than Carolina or other teams that they might have to go to. So I think there's. I think that's like I said. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I think there's some fire. I think he wants to be a Raider.
Yep,
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, he is telegraphing it, like not just with the tweets, but talking to celebrities and other athletes in the game. Like they catch him on a mic talking about it. Like he wants to be a Raider, but we'll see if it happens. And there's this whole thing with the package deal with Deion Sanders. I don't know if that's true, but it could get a little messy, and we'll see. Other teams will obviously want to draft him too.
Pretty hilarious, man. But like, if he does actually go to the Raiders, like he's gonna be teammates with a lot of these guys. Like every week, he's like thanking God that they lose.
No, but you go win. You go win and say, man, that wasn't personal. That was, I love you guys.
I'm just thanking the Lord on Sundays.
Yeah, exactly. It's all good. Man.
Sunday.
When we'll really know is when the Raiders lose to the Falcons on Monday Night Football. If he takes thank God on a Monday night, then we know it's confirmed.
Yeah, that game ain't gonna be a Monday. That game's getting flexed, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but
that's true. Black Friday game then. Black Friday game.
Oh yeah, Black Friday. That's the true test.
There you go.
All right. Christopher McBride asks, I know everybody is excited about our chances of drafting a franchise quarterback in the 2025 draft, but do you believe this current coaching staff can develop a young quarterback properly?
I got 6 words for you, man. Season high 22 first downs. So yeah, this team is on the quick rise.
So you
That's
think
5 words.
they can
Season
develop
high 22 first downs.
22 is 2 words.
6?
Isn't it? Is it hyphen?
22 is a number. It's 1 word.
No, but when you write it out, isn't it 2 words?
I guess.
Come on, man.
I guess.
Let's go.
I guess.
I'm saying, what am I? I'm being a smart ass, but I think they clearly had some little baby steps today. But I don't know. Scott Turner's back next year. Who knows what the deal is? But uh, you imagine if they're bringing a young quarterback, they'll have a plan. If Tom Brady's part of that plan, I don't know, or if a new OC with a vision's part of the plan. But I think they know they can't have a brand new shiny quarterback and have. I don't want to say clowns, but you can't have people who shouldn't be in charge of him. So I think that will handle itself when we get to that point.
You know,
Yeah. I
well,
mean,
Mark Davis said Tom Brady's going to pick him and train him. So
Yeah, there you
there
go.
you go. They got the guy.
yeah, the number one thing you need when you pick a quarterback is you need to have the right play caller, and that has been proven over and over again, and especially this year. If you do not have the right play caller for a young quarterback, you could ruin him pretty quickly. So
I'm
that's
gonna
going to be a
argue,
huge decision.
I'm gonna argue with you. How about a good O line or a non-terrible O line? Maybe more important than the play
I would
caller
say
for a
that's
rookie.
two. I
I
would
would say
say
I
this
just
think
guy
two.
here.
we got some
Delivery.
food.
I'm
Let me
seeing.
get, man. We got some food coming.
Well,
Yeah.
all right.
Well,
Oh no, he's not here yet. Never mind.
All right. But yeah, but
uh,
to me, number one, you need the right offensive coordinator. If you do not have the right offensive coordinator, two, he's going to put that young quarterback in a bad position. Two, he's not going to develop properly. Three, he's going to have to move on to another system in year two or year three or whatever it is. And we
I,
know moving to different systems is tough.
I agree with you. It's very important. I might go non-terrible O line one because then the quarterback gets killed. A loses confidence. B develops bad habits. C. So I just think that I think it's a close. I think I would take O line over the OC at first, but it's close.
But you have a good offensive coordinator. You could find ways around it, I think. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. No more questions. Thank you for joining us. If you joined us live after this Dolphins game, then you are truly a sicko. But we thank you guys
Ah,
for for joining us and trying to make sense of the loss and trying to find a silver lining here. So yeah, we will catch you guys on Friday. But for now, we'll see you next week.
all right, guys, hang in there.
All right.